Hey everybody, it's Michael here, and I'm here to talk about a new topic that has been on my mind for a while. So in the FGC, you see a lot of like games becoming popular, and then some of them become not so popular after a while, and then some games just stay popular forever. And I wanted to understand about one particular series, which is I would say the SNK, KOF, Fatal Fury like franchises. Like for some reason, these games just don't get the attention that I think some of them deserve, and they don't get the type of recognition or the type of like notoriety that a lot of like popular fighting games out right now get. And I was a little puzzled and baffled by some of the reasonings behind why people decide not to play KOF, not even try it and whatnot. So I want to dive into this topic and just kind of delve into some of the people's reasonings behind it, and definitely try to get my own take on it. Maybe this would help people want to get into KOF. I think it's a great series, but I'm just one person, so who am I? But anyway, so I can start back from KOF. I would say KOF 13 is probably the one I probably took the most time is actually playing, actually trying to get good, quote quote, and actually trying to be competent at the game. So a lot of KOF games historically have been considered very high entry as far as like, you know, the barrier to actually get good at these games. And I feel like KOF 13 did a pretty good job of actually like making the gap a lot smaller and made the game a little more accessible than the previous titles were. But at the same time, it definitely was still an issue because the game had so many different mechanics, different ways to jump, different defensive options, all types of stuff. And that can be a little daunting for people who aren't used to it. And not even just that, just the inputs for the game can be a little daunting, because I remember me trying to do a lot of like super moves. Some of them were really hard to pull off. Like some of the directions you have to put in are like really crazy, like thumb motions and stuff. So I can understand some people might be a little bit like put off by that. But my main crux of this is that a lot of people in the FGC and just people who enjoy fighting games in general have such a distaste for a lot of fighting games that are out right now. And I feel like KOF encompasses a lot of things people want in fighting games. Mainly having a large cast, a large roster, memorable characters, legacy characters. KOF 14 has a huge roster of legacy characters. And I think KOF 13 kind of missed the mark on some of the selections of characters that were in the game. It had a really small roster, and I think they remedied that in KOF 14 pretty well. They catered to just about everybody who's ever played any iteration of KOF. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of those characters have ended up in KOF 14. So I think the roster has improved. One of the other really big gripes and probably one of the biggest contentions with KOF, especially the last one, was the netcode for 13. I will say that the netcode for KOF 13 was pretty abysmal. It was almost unplayable online. It was pretty much unplayable online. I would try to play people, and it was just not happening. Like it was extremely laggy and jittery, and it just was an awful experience playing online. And that became like everyone's reason behind not playing KOF at all. Like the whole scene, I would say specifically Chicago, when I was trying to like, you know, be more a part of the KOF scene, there was a very select few people playing it, and it wasn't a whole lot. And a lot of them were saying like, oh, the only way you can really play KOF is if you go to somebody's house and play it, which is kind of like the old school way of playing fighting games anyway. But I guess when, you know, digital age, we become way more accustomed and way more, we become more integrated in online play because we can't always get to people's houses. So online play became a really big contention for that game. And unfortunately, that kind of like hurt 13 in the long run because a lot of people just didn't bother playing it. And even when it got re-released on Steam, it didn't really get much traction after that. So then we get to KOF 14, which is a very polarizing game for some people. I think the way it looks polarizes it a lot because people were used to the sprites, and 13 is a gorgeous game. But I can understand why SNK decided not to go the sprite route, because sprites take way more time to animate and are probably way more expensive as far as like development time, whereas they can like rig a 3D model much easier and do all the stuff for that. It won't take as long. So I understand why they made that jump to do more 3D models for KOF 14. And the netcode for KOF 14 isn't the best, but it's a big improvement from 13. Yet still people make that a big claim as why they never got into the series as a whole. But you see other games that had like really sluggish or bad netcodes. They were like anime fighters in particular have a notorious history of having like not so great netcodes. And then you have Street Fighter V's launch, which wasn't that great. I mean, I love Street Fighter V to death, but the online scene for it was kind of pretty bad for like the first year actually. But people stuck with it. And even now with Dragon Ball FighterZ, people stuck with that game too, despite the fact of it having a really unpleasant netcode and an unpleasant online experience. Like people couldn't even play their friends for a while. They had to patch it a few times. So I don't understand exactly these reasons they use, because ironically, those same reasons aren't being used for other games, and why they're still popular, because DBZ is one of probably the most popular fighting games out right now. Just all just general just numbers as far as like participation in tournaments and stuff like that. It is the most popular fighting game out right now. And the netcode for that isn't all that great. So again, I'm not understanding exactly why people use that reason for the KOF 14. I'm starting to think that people just don't want to play KOF 14 in general, or just the KOF series as a whole, because of the fact that, well, some people, they kind of like cast it off as like a bootleg Street Fighter. That's always been like my thing from years ago when I first started playing KOF. Like people think, oh, it's not Street Fighter, it's a bootleg Street Fighter, it's a bargain basement Street Fighter, it's a, like all these other like really like mean ways of like saying it's just like a bootleg Street Fighter, which isn't even slightest bit the case. Like it's so much, it's like a complete opposite of Street Fighter in a lot of ways. I mean, it has some similarities, of course, because they're both 2D fighting games that have a lot of like similar like structure, but it's a whole different ball game. So I think the brand awareness of Street Fighter honestly hurts the possibility of KOF ever being viable to people. Outside of, I will say this, in Latin America and in Japan and some parts of Asia, KOF is a thriving scene. People actually play it and like it and enjoy it. I'm mainly talking about people who live in English-speaking countries specifically, like in North America and some parts of Europe. Like they don't really play KOF that much. Like you look at tournaments, the tournament turnout for a lot of these games are really low. I remember from, what was it, Combo Breaker and CEO, I don't know if they had a tournament for CEO, but I know Combo Breaker had a tournament for KOF, and it was pretty low. Like it was like not that existent. And I remember earlier this year during, what was it, Frosty Fausting, one of my friends, Bill, he's actually like one of the main people like for the TVC scene, and he was even saying like, wow, TVC, you know, Capcom vs. Capcom has a bigger tournament turnout than KOF does, which is shocking because KOF 13 has such a really good, it had like a promising future ahead of it. And I feel like it's going backwards now with 14, and I don't understand, I don't really get it. Like, it has all the things people want in a fighting game. Like, it has a huge roster. People always complain about, oh, DLC, oh, DLC. And this game remedies that. Like, I think the base roster of the game is like almost 50 characters. So, it remedies that, and then, let's see, what else is other really? Oh, some games are just too casual. They're too casual. They're casualizing fighting games. Well, KOF definitely doesn't do that. It's pretty like, it's on that same level as Guilty Gear as far as like complexity is concerned. And I don't know, I think they're just people just grabbing for a reason not to play it. I think people just don't like KOF, to be honest. Like, I think that's like the main thing. I think that it's just too weird and too obtuse and just too, it just has things about it that doesn't appeal to the mass market as far as fighting game consumers are concerned. And so it turns people off easily, which is a shame because it's such a great fighting game. And all people's like complaints about other fighting games are remedied in KOF. Like all the things people hate about, like, oh, Street Fighter V doesn't have defensive options. Street Fighter doesn't have really good characters. Street Fighter V's roster is garbage. And I'm like, well, KOF has like a really big roster and it has like complexity and it's fun to play and it's cool. And I mean, it's not the greatest looking fighting game out right now. I will say that KOF 14 is a little lackluster in the looks department, but it makes up a lot in like the gameplay department, which is another game, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It looks abysmal. Like, I love that game, but it's not the greatest looking fighting game that's been out, but it has a higher turnout and it has a higher like presence in tournaments than KOF 14 does. Even with the backlash that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite has received, it still has a bigger presence and regarded higher in regards to people's like opinion of it than KOF 14 does. And it's, I don't get it. Maybe I need to have people really explain to me what their reason behind not playing it, because that would probably help the conversation a lot better. So that's my spiel. I think that KOF is a great fighting game. I think that I would hope more people would play it and give it a chance. I mean, it's been on sale like so many times. It was on sale like last week for like $10 to get the base game. That's like 50 characters. So again, like a lot of the things people hate about other fighting games, KOF remedies and has in spades as far as like complexity, character, roster, legacy, all that stuff. So yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you think KOF is just not fun to play? Do you think it's just overly complicated? Do you think it's just not user-friendly? Do you think that it's just not Street Fighter, if that's your reasoning, which I hope it isn't? Let us know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel. It would really help a lot. And please like this video, comment, tell what you think, share with your friends. Maybe they'll probably eventually play KOF. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later.